everyone, it's Sarah and welcome to my crochet channel. Today's video I'm going to show you how to crochet our simple yet elegant Calming Wrap Shawl. It's a really simple pattern of 2 rows of double crochet and a row of crossed triple crochets, and it lays out just gorgeous, and this yarn drapes beautifully. This is the Shawl in a Ball yarn, and we'll talk just a little bit more about yarns when we get a little farther on in the video. The shawl measures about 16 inches across, and it also measures about 65 inches long. And I'll also explain to you how you can make it wider and longer if you want to. Now you can find this free crochet pattern on my blog, and as always, you'll find that link down in the notes underneath this video. To make this Calming Wrap Shawl, you're going to need some yarn, of course, and the yarn that we chose to use is Shawl in a Ball. And to make the shawl the size that I have made, you only need 1 skein. All right, and on this skein you're going to find that it's a medium number 4 and it's about 5.3 ounces. I had enough to make the shawl and a fun little flower to add a little extra pop to my shawl. And if you want that flower pattern, it's just called my Loopy Flower, I'll put that link down in the notes as well, so you can add that if you want to. So if you're going to make the shawl the same size that I made mine, you just need 1 skein of Shawl in a Ball or any medium weight number 4 yarn, and you're going to need about 5 to 5.3 ounces. We're going to be stitching today with a K-hook, and we're using a K-hook because we want this to be loose and lacy. It's a loose stitch. All right, the K-hook is a 6.50 millimeter crochet hook. You'll need a pair of scissors and you'll need your needle just for weaving in those ends. The shawl is stitched in rows back and forth, 2 rows of double crochet and a row of the triple cross stitches, and each of those is a repeat, and the repeat measures about 2 inches for those 3 rows. And so you can adjust the length by just adding more repeats of the 2 double crochets and the triple cross stitch row. As far as the width, 3 chains equal about 1 inch. And if you want to add more length, you can add 3 chains per inch. I'm going to be making my slip knot, and then I'm going to chain 50 chains. And it's very important that you chain this initial 50 chains loosely. And that's part of the reason that we're using the K-hook. I pull it through, give it a little bit of a pull, and do the next chain. It's very important that this first row be loose, because if it's puckered or tight, one end of your wrap will be puckered or too tight. All right, so for the size that I'm making, which is the 16 by 65, which is what the pattern is written, I'm going to chain 50 chains, and I'm going to chain those 50 chains loosely. I have chained my 50 chains, and we're going to stitch a row of double crochets. So yarn over, we're going to go in the 4th chain, 1, 2, 3, 4, and stitch a double crochet. This initial row will be a little bit clumsy or hard to do, not hard, but take a little more concentration because of the type of yarn that we're using. All right, so yarn over, go in the next chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, and go through the second 2. Now it's going to look a little bit loose, and that's exactly what we want it to look like. We want it to be an open and lacy wrap, because this wrap can be a scarf, a lightweight wrap, or just a wrap shawl to toss across your shoulders in a cool morning or evening. All right, now I'm going to stitch 1 double crochet in each of my chains across. We started by stitching a double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook, and this chain 3 does count as our first double crochet. All right, so 1 double crochet in each chain, working all the way across our chain. I stitched 1 double crochet in each of the chains, starting in the 4th chain from the hook, and our chain 3 here counts as our first double crochet, so you should have 48 double crochets. And every row after this will have the same amount of stitches. We will not be adding to the amount or subtracting. And so however many that you begin with on this first row will be your stitch count for each row for the whole shawl. All right, so we're going to chain 3. Chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. We're going to turn our work, and for row 2, we're just going to place a double crochet in each of the double crochets, working all the way across this row. 1 double crochet in each double crochet across. And again, be careful not to pull too tightly. You want this to be loose and lacy. This yarn has a wonderful drape to it, and by stitching it a little bit loose and lacy, you get a lovely, lovely wrap shawl or scarf or whatever you're making. All right, so for row 2, we're stitching 1 double crochet in each double crochet across. I have stitched a double crochet in each double crochet across. I'm going to chain 4 this time. 1, 2, 3, 4. This chain 4 counts as a triple crochet. We're going to stitch 1 triple in the next 2 double crochets. So 2 wraps on our hook, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go through the next 2, yarn over, and go through the last 2. All right, let's stitch 1 more. So we have 3 triples at the beginning of this row. Now we're going to stitch those triple cross stitches. So 2 wraps, we're going to skip the next double crochet and triple in the next. Two wraps, we're going to cross back and triple in that stitch that we skipped. And that's how the cross stitch is made. All right, so 2 wraps, skip the next double crochet and triple crochet in the next. 2 wraps, cross back, and we go from behind forward on that double crochet and stitch that triple. And we'll repeat this, working all the way across till we reach those last 3 stitches. So skip the next, triple in the next. Now I have 3 triples. All right, 2 wraps, skip this double crochet and triple in the next. Two wraps, go back and stitch that triple in that skipped double crochet. And that's the way row 3 works. Let's do another one together. 2 wraps, skip this double crochet and triple in the next. Two wraps, go back to that double crochet that we skipped and stitch that triple stitch. And so now what we're doing is we're stitching a row of triple cross stitches all the way across until we reach those last 3 double crochets. I've continued to stitch my cross stitches, triple cross stitches all the way across, and you're going to have 21 cross stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. And then you'll have 3 stitches at the end. And we'll place 1 triple in each of those 3 double crochets. There we go. One triple in each of those 3 double crochets, and we're going to chain 3 and turn our work. And so for row 3 you have those 21 cross stitches plus 3 triples at the beginning and 3 at the end of your row. All right, so we chained 3. The chain 3 counts as a double crochet. And now for row 4, we're going to double crochet in each stitch across. And sometimes when you're working with a cross stitch or a stitch that's a little hard to see the stitches, the best way to do that is to follow those loops on the top. All right, because we want to make sure that our stitch count stays the same. So our chain 3 counts as our first, and we're going to double crochet in each stitch across. So there's those 3 triples. We stitched a double crochet in those 2, and our chain 3 counted as our first. And this brings us to our triple cross stitches. So what we're going to do is just stitch a double crochet in each of those stitches. And again, if you'll just follow the loops that you see at the top, it will help you keep track of your stitches. It's very important that we make sure that we keep our stitch count the same for every row. And again, make sure you don't stitch too tightly because we want this to be, as I've already said, loose and lacy. All right, so you can see the pattern. 1 double crochet in each of those triple stitches all the way across. I've stitched 1 double crochet in each of those stitches across, and it's a good idea to go ahead and count to make sure you didn't skip a stitch somewhere, because this row is one of the rows that it's easy to get your count off. All right, so that's something just to keep in mind. My last double crochet, chain 3, and turn, and for row 5, we're just going to repeat what we did for row 4, only we're stitching in double crochets. So 1 double crochet in each double crochet across. And I think now you can see the pattern that we're going to be working on this wrap shawl. So I'm just going to stitch across, stitching 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets across. And I want to remind you to remember to stitch loosely. And again, that's why we chose to go with the K-hook, which is a 6.5, because we wanted it stitched a little bit loosely so that it has a lacy feel to it. And again, just to repeat, I'm stitching 1 double crochet loosely in each double crochet across. I completed that row of double crochet all the way across, 1 double crochet in each double crochet, and now we're going to chain 4 and turn, and we're going to repeat what we did here on our 3rd row. We're going to stitch a triple in those next 2 double crochets, there we go, and now we're going to stitch our triple cross stitches. So we'll skip the next stitch, stitch a triple, we'll make 2 wraps, cross back, and stitch that triple in that skipped stitch. Skip the next, triple in the next, and stitch a triple in that skipped stitch. And repeat all the way across. So we stitched a triple and a triple because the chain 4 counted as our first, and now we're stitching triple cross stitches all the way across our row until we reach those last 3 double crochets, and we'll stitch a triple in those last 3, just like we did on row 3. I've completed that row of, we have 3 triples because the chain 4 counted as our first. We have 21 triple cross stitches and then 3 triples at the end, chain 3, and we'll turn. And so what you're going to do is you're going to repeat the 2 rows of double crochet and the row of triple crosses, and you're going to repeat that 19 more times. And that is row 4, 5, and 6. And so you'll repeat those 2 double crochets and a triple cross stitch row, these 3 rows, row 4, 5, and 6, 19 more times, or more if you want a longer wrap shawl. Once you have stitched your last row of your triple cross stitch stitches, you'll need to stitch 2 more rows of the double crochet. So you have an end with 2 rows of your double crochet, just like where we started, where we have 2 rows of double crochet. And then all you need to do after that is weave in your ends, and you have a beautiful wrap shawl. There's no trim needed and no edge needed, unless you want to, of course. And the last thing I wanted to show you is this Loopy Flower. It's 3 rows of Loopy Flower, and this is a video that I've already done, and I'll add that link for you right up there, or you can click on the link that's down in the notes under the video if you want to add one of these fun Loopy Flowers. And I love them. I think it adds just a little bit of a special touch.